According to Randstad's 2022 Work Monitor study, 91% of Singaporean employees have indicated an interest in career learning and development opportunities. One of those is Marcella Tang. Having majored in finance, she started her career in a bank in 2019.
Back in university, I mainly studied finance, economics management, and wasn't really exposed to something that I wanted to pursue, which is tech. So after working for a year, I decided to take the leap of faith and transition into a different career industry. I was concerned about the steep learning curve because I had no prior knowledge to data analytics. It was just a domain that I was particularly interested in pursuing as a career. The time commitment for the course was about 2 to 3 months, and during weekends, about 3 hours per session. And it was time consuming where you have to allocate, your personal time and commitment to the course. It really strengthened and developed my technical skills and knowledge, which was what I was looking for. And also it greatly helped me in my transition from a finance industry to a tech industry. It's one of the best decisions I made for my career.
And it's not only younger workers like Marcella who are keen to learn. According to a survey by JobStreet, nearly 7 in 10 older Singaporeans are willing to be reskilled for new jobs. 55-year-old Huzia Yusof is one such person. She had to look for a new job after getting retrenched in 2021.
I realized that with the skills that I have, it's not current. So I decided it's time to, look out for courses and see how I can complement my, extensive experience in administration and events management. And, obviously IT was the way to go because my 19-year-old son, he's an IT geek. And it's kind of nice to be able to hey, I know this, do you know this, In the beginning, I felt that I'm going to be the oldest person here, what if I'm not in tune with the jargon that these teenagers or young adults are using? I told everyone that, hey, I'm 55 years old, so be kind, So the course did not really apply to what I'm doing right now, but it gives me that confidence that, hey, I can pick up something new regardless of age, after all, age is just a number, right? Yeah. I hope that there's more opportunities for us to use our Skills Future credit. Maybe for courses where it needs additional cash top up, we should be allowed to use our CPF, for example, or there should be additional funding or subsidy. So that would sort of motivate, especially the older people like me who want to do something, but it's very hesitant because they're afraid that they would fail. And at the same time, if they fail, they don't want to lose their money.
I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if she has a TikTok account, Maybe she could be.
No, very inspiring.
But we've seen two Singaporeans, different age groups, one younger, another older, who recently went through digital reskilling. So the theme of this round of conversation is opportunities. And at the table, we have Clarence Tan. You're a data analytics instructor at Vertical Institute, which specializes in tech courses and other in-demand skills. Sanjeev Tiwari, you are the General Secretary of the Amalgamated Union of Public Employees, and you also sit in the NTUC Central Committee. Now, DPM, you mentioned the Skills Future ecosystem will be strengthened. One example is the appointing of job skills integrators, right? Mm-hmm. So, Clarence, I'll start with you first. Marcella was actually a student of yours, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And you have a question also related to job skills integrators.
Yeah, I have. So, definitely I applaud their efforts for taking the step to go to a training provider. Yeah, so I myself am a career switcher as well. So I totally understand how they feel, the time commitment and so on. So I find that it's a great effort that they actually make the switch.
Sure.
And every one of them come from different backgrounds, different industry, different age group, but they all take the first step to gain a confidence in the skills.
Yeah. What did you switch from? You said you
from accounting.
From accounting
to tech.
Oh, yeah, brilliant.
So I had that steep learning curve as well. So whatever she faced, I have faced it as well. So yeah. So coming back to the job skills integrator, so I kind of like the initiative because in a way it bridged the entities, individuals, the enterprise as well as the training providers.
Yes.
So I have a question more on the mechanism as well as the execution.
Yeah.
Like how will these job skills integrator, middlemen, perform their job to ensure that they find the right people to obtain the right skill set and eventually get the right job? And how will this differ from the current existing practice where already recruitment agency have been already scouting for talents, meeting the industry needs?
Yeah. Well, Clarence, you have asked exactly the right questions, and it is going to be quite complex, because when we started out this journey of Skills Future, it has to start first of all from the employers, right? Because the employers must feel that there is a need for their workers to be trained. So we started with that in mind. And when we spoke to many companies, they didn't even think about this. And that's why we had industry transformation maps. We asked employers to start thinking about how is your industry going to transform? How is your company going to upgrade and adjust to the changes in the external environment, and what new skills your workers need? And then we worked with NTUC, and I'm sure Sanjeev can testify or talk about that later. We started implementing company training committees in companies together with the unions. Then they start thinking about their future needs and what training gaps they have. Then we talk to the training providers, and then the training providers come up with courses. And technically, you say, well, if that works, then what's the need for a middleman, right? Company does it, then the training provider provides the course, and everything should come together. But despite doing all that, we've still found some gaps, right? Because you find people who may not know exactly how to navigate this environment, individuals themselves not sure what courses to take. You still have training providers who say, well, my course is very good, but then the company says, actually, it's not, and then they don't really fit one another. So because of all these gaps, we think there's still a need for this middleman role. And we are trying it out first in specific sectors, get some learning experience, because the devil is really in the details, the implementation details that you talked about. How is this integrator going to function? How are they going to find the right individuals, really make sure that the individuals after training will get better jobs, better pay? That's the key outcome that we want the integrator to deliver.
So that integrator almost needs to really get to know the person, understand that, for example, Jenny is an older worker. Perhaps a course by Clarence could be good, could help her get a job at ABC company,
That's
but
right.
making all those connections,
That's right. And they obviously cannot work by themselves.
Yeah,
they have
that's
to
right.
work with training providers like yourselves. They have to work with the unions, the employers, and then bring all of it together.
So what do you think, Sanjeev?
Yep. Thank you, DPM. And then firstly, let me commend Hookzia for that passion and also the willingness to upgrade and go into a new domain.
Yeah.
And as a representative of workers, as a unionist, many of our members, actually mature members, have shared with us some of these challenges. One of the things is that there's a lot of emphasis on digital transformation, use of tech and new tools. And where the younger workers are concerned, you seeing them more agile, they're more adaptable, hence they can make that change faster. From our Every Worker Conversation Matters, we have heard feedback from our mature workers. They want to, but they are fearful. They are scared to take on these new challenges that are ahead of them.
Yeah.
They're also wondering what kind of support or time and space that they can be given. I think failure is another option, that it's on the table. Will employers be a bit more forgiving if they are slower, if they need more support or more time? I think these are concerns that we actually hear from our mature workers. They also want to be part of this career progression.
Right.
And they do not be stagnated just because they're not making the switch.
Okay.
But when they do try to make that switch, then what can we do together to provide that space, that support to them as well? I think that's something that mature workers are also shouting out loud in that sense.
Well, thank you, Sanjeev, for that, because we know there are genuine concerns about from mature workers. And so we are studying what more we can do. To take a step back, everyone wants to have a better job and to see themselves advancing in life. I think from a broader perspective, we are confident that Singapore can continue to grow, because that's key, right? If Singapore doesn't grow, there won't be opportunities. Right. But because if you look around the world, even though there are troubles, there's turbulence, I think the Singapore brand is highly regarded. Right. We are for our honesty, our integrity, our reliability. Investors trust us; they have confidence in us. So, from that broader perspective, we can have confidence that we can continue to grow the economy. But the challenge will be, from the individual point of view, it will keep changing. There will be growth, there will be opportunities, but I cannot guarantee that it will be the same job. And that means that the individual has to be prepared to invest in skills upgrading. Employers have to be prepared to do so. And that's why we think Skills Future is going to be so much more critical in our next bound of nation building. And we want to take Skills Future to a higher gear. The job skills integrator that we've announced in the budget is just one step. We are thinking hard about what other things we can do for Skills Future, how we can really take it to the next level, including support for mature workers that you talked about, and really looking at it from an ecosystem point of view. It's not just about more Skills Future credits or subsidies. That's the easiest thing to do. But changing mindsets, as we talked about just now, getting employers to support training wholeheartedly and putting the ecosystem in place, that's more challenging, and that's what we are thinking hard about as part of our Forward Singapore exercise.
DPM, just to follow up on that, can I just, you mentioned earlier about the CTCs, the company training committees, employers and the ecosystem coming together. So just thinking out loud, in that sense, in the job skills integrators, how can we then also leverage on these company training committees, E2I's job placement and the training ecosystem, and then make that tighter so that mature workers and actually workers who want to upgrade into these new domains will find it easier and that connectivity is more seamless in that sense.
Very much. That's the whole intent, that we want the job skills integrator to work very closely with CTCs, with E2I, with all the different stakeholders. But the job skills integrator will be a specific appointment. And we are open to whichever institution wants to play that role, because the idea is I will be prepared to give more resources to appoint a job skills integrator for a particular industry. Let's say it's retail or whichever industry. This institution will play this role. We provide more resources from the government, but that institution has to deliver KPIs, not just more money for you to hire more people, but the KPI, as I said, are for the institution to work with all the stakeholders, unions, employers, training providers, and make sure that the individual trained gets a good job, better pay. That's the key outcome.
Thank you,
And that's integral, because you guys are the guys on the ground. You know these people best and what would work best for them as well. So that matching is very important. But we've been talking about older workers. We need to talk a bit about younger workers as well. And Clarence, I understand you have a question related to that, because you have kids who are coming for coding classes too, right?
Oh, yeah. So I do teach some kids coding classes as well. And I see parents bring their kids to the class, and obviously they are software engineers, so they had some foresight as well. So my question would be
hopefully not just parents who are software engineers.
I hope more people can come. And they really learn very fast. I really am impressed by them. So in terms of the generational preparation, I see that they are bringing kids to all these kind of coding classes, kind of to prepare them for the future. Will the government have initiative, for example, the job skills integrator for the younger generation, so they have a longer runway to adapt to the latest development? So will the government think of any of such initiative?
We are not quite in the same sense as a job skills integrator, or because really you have to adapt to the children at their appropriate age. And for children at a very young age, we think what's very important is to motivate and imbue in them that strong sense of wanting to learn, that curiosity to keep on learning. That spirit of learning is so important. So it cannot be just, this industry is going to be so important and therefore you prepare for that industry. Because frankly, by the time the kid is 21, the industry may be a sunset industry and it will be a new industry coming up. Or even if you say, look, you learn this programming language now, maybe it's whatever it is today, 10 years later, there'll be a new language. So it cannot be about getting the child to just focus on A, B, C or this particular item, but it's really about getting them to want to learn, to have that spirit of learning, and that's so important at a young age. And if they have that, confidence and ability to keep on learning, then hopefully that will put them in a much better position later in life to continue to refresh their skills.
And will we try to provide more opportunities for these children in the sense that, so we need to give them the chance to experience, to try, and therefore to evolve? Because as you say, we don't know what the jobs of the future are.
Very much. So that's what the education system is very mindful of. All our educators in schools are very mindful of that, and they are constantly across all the different subjects that they teach, very mindful that it's not just about content and knowledge. It's really about 21st century competencies, as the educators talk about, which is really getting our children to appreciate the importance of learning on a continual basis.